Hey guys, Ben here with Golf and Guns. Wanted to take a quick minute to talk about two physiological aspects of the body that I believe are fundamental to better shooting. The first being our eyes. Anything that tends to be closer to our brain is going to have a faster response time with reacting to something. We know that as we get further away from the brain, obviously down to our legs, where it takes longer to get that message to that, we tend to have a slower reaction time. The fastest muscle in your body to react is your jawbone. Second to that is your eyelids, opening and closing. Our eyes are such a critical part of what we do. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that, how they really control our body in a lot of ways. If I was to take a step, right, if I was to kind of step down here, I'm not going to look at my foot and watch my foot take the step, right? I'm gonna go ahead and look where I'm gonna step, and then I'm gonna go ahead and step there. And so we know that our eyes kind of control our extremities and dictate how they'll work. So again, it's so important that we have great control over our eyes. You'll watch somebody like Jerry Mukelich, Bob Vogel, great handgun shooters. You'll see that their eyes never close. In the course of that shooting, you'll see that several rounds are firing, their eyes are never blinking, never closing, staying open. And what that allows for is there's no downtime in which we're recovering from that blink, and we're kind of lost with our extremities as to what to do. They've also done studies on the eyes, very interesting to note that we blink more than what's required to keep our eyes moist. They had originally kind of thought that was the only reason that you blink is to keep your eyes moist. It turns out oftentimes we'll blink to give our brain a break. We'll close our eyes and blink, and our brain kind of takes a minute to not think and rest for a second. We know that, again, if we're in a shooting scenario or we're shooting and our eyes are closing, our brain essentially is stopping as well. Stop sending signals to the hands or whatever it is you're trying to do, again, losing valuable time. Nanoseconds, but valuable time. And so it's really important that we learn in our shooting efforts to keep our eyes open. And I'll talk more about that in other videos, how we can kind of work on that and some of the ways we can accomplish that task. The second thing that I want to talk about is our ears. If I was to ask the question, which I have asked the question, what is our fastest sense out of our senses? And the answer I get most common is your eyes. They're fastest, right? It turns out they're not. It turns out that the ears are much faster at processing stimuli than the eyes are. Magic tricks are really built around visualization, and the eyes seem to be pretty easy to trick. Seems to work pretty good. They say it's about 10 to 15 times faster than your eyesight. And also, again, if you watch some world-class shooters, not all of them, you'll watch some of them, you'll notice that when they take the earmuffs off, they've also got ear plugs in. And that was kind of interesting to me. I didn't really pay attention to that, just kind of thought it was, you know, maybe to protect the ears and over a course of shooting, which I'm sure there's something to that. Having kind of studied the body a little more, I think it becomes apparent that they do that to minimize the stimuli into those ears. And if our ears react so quickly, we can assume that they're a key part in our preservation, right? In us making sure we're able to preserve and take care of ourselves and protect ourselves and defend ourselves in that fight or flight concept. If we can minimize the sound, and so we are just dealing with the recoil of the gun, we tend to find that the recoil in a gun is accentuated by the loudness or the bang of the gun when we do that. And if we can minimize that sound, we'll find that we don't tend to react as poorly or we're not as heightened to the recoil of the gun as we might be as it combines with the sound. Again, so those are a couple of the physiological makeups of the body, and I think understanding those and understanding how that works a little bit helps us to try to mitigate that a little bit so we can shoot better. I think a lot of times in shooting and in golf and a lot of different things, we so many times try to fix the manifestation of the cause, but not necessarily the cause. So I think it's always so important that we get to the root of whatever that problem is so that we can truly correct what it is we're trying to be better at. You know, it'd be kind of like a tree. If we kept cutting the limbs off, they keep growing back. But we've got to get down to the roots and take the roots out in order to get rid of the tree. So you know, that's kind of the goal here as we work through this, is really to address the root causes of things. And then we can kind of move up into the limbs, if you will, of the tree to address some of those other things. So, and I'll do other videos on trigger control, you know, grip. All those things do play a role in shooting, as it relates to, again, some of the more fundamental aspects of our body. Probably next, I'll go ahead and run a video on flinching and talking a little bit about that and how that relates to, again, our eyes and our hearing and some of those things.